Hello and welcome to Syndicate Gaming. We are back with a tier list. It's been a while. I think the last one was in November. Does that sound right, John?
It's been so long I don't remember.
Okay,
There's been
that's
there's
fine.
been tournaments on tournaments since then.
Yeah.
Lots of games.
All right. Well, tonight we're obviously doing the Wakandan tier list. I'm here with my buddy John. Say hi, John.
Hey everybody.
Yeah. So the last week or so, I've really been doing a push on the channel. I think I've put out like 5 videos in the last 8 days or something, which is a lot more than we used to do. Uh, just some admin stuff really quick. I just want to say, keep liking, commenting, all that stuff helps. Uh, please subscribe if you can. Uh, I think it's something like 80% of people that watch aren't subscribed, and that's the best way to help the channel, help us, keep, keep making these videos, doing other kinds of videos like that unboxing I just did on the channel of the Rivals panel that just came out. That was a lot of fun. That was my first time doing it, so that was a learning opportunity. So, but we can keep making these videos with more subscribers and all that kind of stuff. And then also I want to announce that we have a Facebook page and a Twitter page, brand new. They literally have 0 followers, so you could go follow them right now and be the very first follower on Facebook or Twitter. So those links will be in the video description. John is also actively working on a community Discord. So that's very exciting. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, John?
It should be up and running fairly soon. Just working out the kinks of learning Discord from an admin side of things instead of just a user. But yeah, it's coming along.
Yeah, awesome. That should be up relatively soon. You can keep watching the videos. We'll announce when it's ready. But yeah, so let's just jump right on in with Wakanda. Uh, so this one's gonna be a little bit unique because it's only 8 characters and literally 4 of them are leaders. Like, there's no other team like that in the whole game that's even close. There are teams that have like 4 members, but there's only one leader. Uh, so basically what I'm saying is this is gonna be interesting way of doing this because I think it's really viable to take all 8 Wakandans in a single roster. So by our usual standards, that means they're all in like A tier, but we can't really do that. We can't put them all into S or A. Like, we need to do a little bit of like differentiating here.
Bobby and I did
Uh,
that for the Guardians video when we were left unattended.
that is true, but it turns out that was very accurate,
Yeah,
with how well
we
Guardians are doing now. So I don't know. That was like, pretty spot on. You guys,
it was that extra stamina on Ronan really turned them around.
yep, exactly. You guys even put Venom into S tier, and he's seen like a ton of play. He was like in the top 10 at LVO. So yeah, that
Oh yeah.
was that was actually a really good call.
Yeah, pretty vindicating.
Oh yeah, it was. It was like Venom, Star-Lord, CGR, all at S tier. Like they
Now
are awesome.
now with the more Asgard on the way soon, Angela will kick back up again, and then we'll just round
Exactly.
out her S tier.
Oh yeah, sounds good. All right, John. Let's start with the very first leader, the most iconic member of this affiliation, Black Panther. What do you think of Black Panther, John? He's an old character, but I think he still has some legs.
Yes, he has very long legs. I feel like I've seen him a ton in Steve One Avengers, more than I've seen him in actual Wakanda. Um, Wakanda as a whole was very dominant when they came out. I know we'll talk about Okoye later.
Yeah,
um, but what I've seen of Black Panther, he's really strong in a lot of places. In Wakanda, I think I like some of the other leaders, well, at least the other leaderships better. Um, but I still like his rerolls. It's very generic, but in a good way, right? So like no matter what your game plan is, you like rerolls, and he gives it on attack, defense, and dodge, right? Yes.
Yep.
Um, so as far as leaderships go, like definitely, I would say above average. Um, I love a good pounce. Being a Guardians mostly Gamora player, pounce is fantastic, and we'll get to that with Killmonger in a little bit too. But yeah, he's just got a pretty solid kit all around. Very just solidly good, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, Black Panther is still really, really good, I think. I mean, he just has that long move that's so rare in the game. He's like really tanky. He counts blanks against physical and energy. Uh, Plus I think his leadership is on the high end. It's not doing anything like super, broken or, anything with combos or, you know, uh like
No, Professor X.
right, exactly. It's not that, but it's like very consistent. It's very similar to
Mm-hmm.
Star-Lord who just hands out rerolls. Like with him, you can just spend
Mm-hmm.
power whenever you want to get a reroll, which is just like generically good. Like you can take any character under Black Panther and they will be better from the leadership. Um, he has one weakness against Mystic. Like that's like the one way he falls down, but like Mystic is not like super prevalent in the game. I think it's the rarest attack type. At least from characters that people play. Um, like having his auto push on his strike of size 3 or less is just so phenomenal because it's just a guarantee. And games that are played at a high level, you want as many guarantees as you can get, and that's like a really rare thing in this game. But
Wouldn't
as
it be
far
great?
as
Wouldn't it be great if that auto push could somehow do damage?
yep, it'd be really nice under King T'Challa, but he's the one character in the whole game that can't be under King T'Challa, which is a huge shame. And I
Well,
think
I
that
guess
hurts him a little
Dormammu,
bit.
right?
Yes, actually, that's a good point as well.
Oh, got him.
Black Panther and 8 threat Dormammu can't be used with King T'Challa. I mean, yeah, he would be super busted under him. So, okay. So, John, the question is,
Mhm.
if we bring classic Black Panther, is he always the leader, or do we take him under somebody else?
That is the question of the hour because we'll cover all four of these leaderships here. I would not say this is the worst leadership by any means. I definitely like his leadership. Um, I think it really depends on crisis, but I don't know. I feel like I just like M'Baku's leadership a little bit more as far as the rerolls, modifying. He has that wild trigger that kind of like steps up your attrition game a little bit rather than specifically looking for shields or whatever. So I think if you're playing a more objective based game, I think he might be better than M'Baku. And you always have the opportunity to put everybody on the table first and then declare who your leader is after deployment. So you know you could always play multiple or at least three leaders in a game and then just kind of pick it later. Um, yeah, I think I'm probably splitting it between him and either M'Baku or Killmonger. I don't know that I'm taking this one every time.
Yeah, I mean, this is the safest one to take.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I will say there are
it's
leaders that their threat value is kind of wrapped into their leadership. Like, I mean, Star Lord's only three threat, but what is he without his leadership? Um,
yeah,
I'm I love Star Lord, just throwing that out there. But uh, without the leadership, Black Panther is still a four threat. So I'm really not upset if I'm playing in a scenario where I'm not taking his leadership.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, he's played in lots of different teams, and he should probably be played even more often than he is. Like he's really good in like Criminal Syndicate and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I think we're pretty high on him, right? I think we're between S and A.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you prefer?
See, we before we started the video, we had this discussion about how are we defining the tiers on such a small affiliation where you literally can't play everybody, even if they're in your roster. Like you could not play two Black Panthers in a game. Um, even though that was the whole final sequence of the first Black Panther movie was two Black Panthers fighting, but
Yeah.
um, I'm kind of leaning towards A just because, you know, like I said, he's good without his leadership, and that's not really indicative of his threat value. But I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards A just because a lot of what I value in him is splashing in other affiliations and his just like overall use as a character in the game as a whole, not necessarily Wakanda. Um, like if you were throwing a bunch of these Wakandan players out and then like one or two splashes, whatever, if you wanted, um, he might end up getting cut more often depending on the splashes. So I would kind of say A. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think the only time I wouldn't put the classic Black Panther into a roster is if I'm solely focused on King T'Challa. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh like if my whole game plan is to always take his leadership, then I won't bother taking classic Black Panther because you literally can't use him. But I think if you're building just like a generic list for Wakanda under any leader, I think you have to have Black Panther, and he's showing up every game that you don't have King T'Challa because he's just that good. So for me, that might bump him into S tier. Like,
Yeah, that's fair.
he's like a higher end fourth threat, and then you add his leadership. It's that, you know, um, you like mentioned how he's a real fourth threat, when he's not the leader, but with the leadership, it kind of pushes him over the top because it gives him those re-rolls on defense when he's counting
Mm-hmm.
blanks, and that's just super good. Like
Yes.
the only weakness is Mystic, and you know, you can even pass that to like a bodyguard that's in Wakanda. So, I mean, he might be my only S tier to be honest, just because like you're taking him unless you have King T'Challa. Like there's no other situation you don't take him, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. I maybe I'm just biased towards like what I've seen played like my local group, that sort of thing. Um, because I mean the new box just came out what yesterday 2 days ago.
Yep.
Um, and so I haven't had a chance to play against them yet, but I feel like at my store, there's a guy that really likes playing M'Baku, and he's a big fan of taking everybody in Wakanda at 20. And if it's anything less than 20, he likes to drop Black Panther and throw in a splash. Um, and what was it last time? He like took everybody except for Black Panther and Storm and threw in Hulk. Um, and that was devastating. I was pretty far, and then OG Killmonger just had a turn where he just scores like 12 points and ends the game.
I mean,
Um,
that could happen. That's
yeah.
the
So I
beauty of
in
Wakanda.
my personal experience, he gets even before new T'Challa, he's been cut before some of the other characters. Um, but I guess I don't mind S tier. I mean, he is just good.
Let's leave him at the top of A and just see how it goes from here. But he's like teetering between S and A. So who's up next though, John?
Except we have M'Baku, uh, chieftain of the Jabari. And I know that you, as a criminals player, have greatly enjoyed M'Baku. Um,
Yes, I have.
we both are pretty high on his sculpt from AMG. That kind of mix of comics and MCU, and oh, it's just a great design.
Did you
Um,
know they actually worked with Marvel to do that?
oh yeah, and that gives me a lot of hope for the future, especially as we have developments in the multiverse here. As we uh, move forward with things like Kang. How is Kang going to play into this game? I can't wait.
I like cannot wait for Kang.
It's
He's gonna
com
be so
it's
cool in this game. I have no idea how he's gonna work, but it's gonna be awesome.
at some point there's going to be a time traveling affiliation, and I don't know what that's going to look like,
Yeah. Oh
but
yeah.
we will have Nimrod at that point. We'll have a Days of Future Past affiliation. That'd be insane. I can't wait for 2047.
2040. We'll have it before that. All right, but uh, going back to my man M'Baku, uh, there's a reason why I always call him my man because he's done awesome work for me. Like I don't know, I've played him, you know, maybe 5 times, somewhere in that range, but he's just popped off like every single game. Uh, I mean, he just has this awesome strike, range three, 5 dice. He can push people and move him, which takes some luck, which to be fair is more likely to happen under the first Black Panther because he gives him rerolls. He has this crazy spender that throws size fours, which is really needed right now, and there's Hulks and CGRs everywhere, and he can even follow up with that strike. He has a throw, which I believe is otherwise lacking in Wakanda. Actually, Storm has one, and you can give it to Killmonger with one of his new cards, but it's pretty rare, to be seen in Wakanda. And he has a couple other random superpowers that are pretty nice, but um, I don't I don't love his leadership to be honest, just because it's so RNG based. Um, I've played with his leadership before in the first part where you don't get pushed or placed off of a point, like literally never came up, and when it did, it just like, was so late in the game that it didn't matter. And then the second effect is all based on wilds, which this is a really strong effect, having a wild gives you an extra hit. Like that is really good. Like that's super nice for pushing damage through. But again, it like can't be relied on. So you'll like randomly spike, but it could also just do nothing. And I think that knocks him down a peg for me. Um, uh, where do you think we should rank him, John? In Baku, like, when do you take him as a leader, and when do you just take him under somebody else?
Yeah, that's a good question. Especially with at least one of the new leaderships that we got this week. I'm perfectly okay taking him not as the leader. Um, yeah, like you said, he's a solid four threat that kind of brings some things that Wakanda was missing for a while, that they were kind of having to splash for, like with those throws. Um, I would definitely call him A tier just because he is just that like solid four threat. Like MCP these days is just a game of four threats, and I think he is about as solid as it gets. He's got a solid frame.
He literally
Um,
has solid frame.
yeah, I do like that the not being pushed or placed is very like completely like the opposite of the new King T'Challa leadership. Like they are rival tribes, like they are just against each other. The rest of it is it's very Modoc, which is like you said is very RNG based. It's very hit or miss. Yeah, I I I would say A just for the rest of his kit, and then I don't think his leadership is solid enough to bump him up.
Yeah, like to me, he has like the least exciting leadership, but it's like, I mean, it's not consistent. It's all random based, but it works with every character in the game, right? Like it'll just help
Mm-hmm.
everyone. whereas like these next two need very specific characters. So like maybe I'll take him as my leader if I like want to play King T'Challa and not have like a push-based team for him. He'll just be my leader because he's just like generically powerful. But I think that every single Wakanda list needs to have him in it. You know, he's a really solid four, even though there's already, I mean, how many fours are there, John? There's four, so half of the
Well, just the leaders, right? Well, in Killmonger, so
yeah.
five.
Well, no,
No,
there's
because there's a five
five
threat.
threat
Yeah,
King T'Challa, yeah. So, you know, he has some pretty stiff competition, but I think he comes out pretty well. So,
I
you
think
know,
so.
I like having him in A. He also has a really good tactics card that we'll talk about later. Um,
He does.
but let's leave him in A. So, the new kid on the block, Killmonger Usurper, who I did a whole video on if you want to check that out. I like really go into him and his leadership, but I really like this character. Like he is just 100% damage. Like he is dealing damage. That is all he does. But, you know, sometimes that's exactly what you need. Like he has a Pierce on his strike, range 4 pistol shot, a Spender where they can't modify dice, which is like really good against web warriors who are really popular right now. He has the same pounce as Black Panther, so you know you could play two characters with pounce. That sounds like really toxic to me. If you're doing all these constant throws like auto damage. Uh, Plus he has his counterattack that doesn't come up too often, but when it does, it could just like randomly win you the game. And I think he has a good leadership and it's pretty generic. Like it benefits most of the characters. So like he might be the default if you don't have like a dedicated leader that you're trying to build around. And there's definitely some splash characters you can bring to really take benefit of this. But the like the part of the leadership where you take a damage and gain a power doesn't synergize super well with most of the people in Wakanda. But you know, you could just not use that ability and save it for round two to give yourself extra dice all game. You know, which will add up to a lot of dice. You know, if it's three dice every round, that's 15 extra dice over the course of the game. So, you know, it's not nothing. Uh, what do you think, John?
Yeah, I definitely like it. I like being able to add that die, and even though the other leaders are the ones that are giving you those rerolls, um, I mean, they still have some other rerolls that they can do, like through Shuri. So I really like this leadership. I think out of the three we've talked about, this is my favorite. Um, if for no other reason than they come in those fun little star shapes on the tokens.
But yeah, that was so funny
um,
during
I
the
I
like
really whenever I
box
did not
opening.
know I knew about the like the backside of the waterfall and all that, but I did not know that the tokens were going to be like that. So I was very excited when I saw that in your video.
Yeah,
I thought maybe
they're
they
just
could have
so
been a
cute.
heart. They could have been a heart shaped token.
No, they're just these little green stars. I still
So
have it with me.
I do like those. I do like this leadership. Feels very winging it inspired for a very killy monger. There we go. Oh, they're like potted too. That's cool.
There's the cute little herb tokens. There they are. Anyways, yeah, so you brought up the winging it tokens from Star-Lord, and I think that's the first comparison people make when they read this leadership and they're like, "Oh, well, one die is
Hand
just
out three
worse than."
tokens.
Right, exactly. And then, you know, having one die is worse than two rerolls. And that's true, but like there are certain situations where having an extra die is better than rerolls, you know, against certain characters like Angela or Black Cat or Medusa. Like you can't even reroll, so your winging it tokens don't do anything. You know, that is like
Mhm.
very specific situations, but you know, it does come up.
Yeah, and this is
Um,
specifically attack, whereas winging it is on defense as well.
that's true, which is a big deal. I don't think like defensive rerolls have that much value, but it will randomly save your life, which this just can't do, right?
Nope.
We also
He's
need to
not Peacemonger, he's Killmonger.
exactly. He's just killing people. Like that is literally what he does. But we do need to bring up his alter ego, the classic Killmonger, because that is his like direct competition.
Same
And
threat and everything.
yeah, literally same threat, same builder, and then the rest is a little different, but it's all damage. And I think the main thing people say about classic Killmonger is that he can bring in the tactics card, usurp the throne, which, gives him extra dice if he um dazes or KOs the highest threat character on the other squad. You get extra victory points, which is really good and a really rare thing in this game. So I see what people are saying, but for me, classic Killmonger is a little bit swingier, and the new Killmonger is more consistent. Like I feel like you're gonna get more out of him every single game. You might not spike as hard, but he's going to do the work for you whenever you put him on the table. Does that sound right to you, John?
Yeah, I think am a little higher on Usurper than the original at this point. Um, just having the counterattack and the pounce together, you're just doing so many more attacks as long as he's, not completely devoid of power. Um, I just like that utility. I mean, I have been playing defenders for several months, so obviously I'm gonna like the counterattacks there. But um, yeah, he just seems to have a little bit more consistent output. Maybe not as high as of a ceiling, like you said, but for 2 power, you can make that free builder. Not free, but for 2 power, you can make an out of turn builder attack into somebody with a chance of a pierce. Like that's so good. Especially if you hold on to your herb token, or if you're making this counterattack before his activation. If you can get all that power back that you spent on it, it just kind of feeds the rest of the turn. Um, yeah, I think he's just a little bit more consistent for me than the original, which I think is why I would rank him a little bit higher. But
So when we're building a list for Wakanda, how likely is it that you put Killmonger, Usurper into it?
into my like onto the table,
No, I mean into your list.
I think he's going in every list. Like if you are going in playing Wakanda and only Wakanda, I think you're taking all 8. Um, and I don't think it's unreasonable that most of your games you're even putting 3 leaders on a table. Um, just keeping everybody guessing. But I don't know. For me, I would not having played him, I would put him in S tier just because I think I like his leadership the best at this point, and I think he's more consistently good. Um, he's not going to really go cold like the other one might. So I think I'm choosing him more often and might just get that S tier.
Okay. That's much higher than I thought you would say.
Oh,
Which I like. Do you really like him? This is just a hard faction to rank because they're all
mhm,
so good. They're all leaders. They all have access to a busted tactics card.
that is true.
I mean, like I kind of want to put him in A again, and then everyone's to A. I think I mean his like main drawback is he has no control, and I think that's a pretty big downside for a four threat because there are four threats that deal damage and have control, but like he does have a tactics card now that gives him a throw, which I think can be a pretty big deal. Um, see, I mean he could honestly. Okay, so
S
I
for
think
spicy.
it's yeah S for the spicy take that'll get YouTube comments. I think it's, I mean, I think you could build really strong lists around Killmonger, with the plan of him being your leader. And I think in
Hmm.
timeline, he should be your leader 100%. But we're not talking
Oh
about
yeah.
timeline right now. We're talking
Hmm.
about standard play, in case that wasn't clear.
Yeah,
But
I think standard, at least the way I like to play the game, I think he would be my leader for all the games except for those like particular crises where you want maybe not something quite as heavy hitting. You know, you want something more evasive or spread out.
yeah, I mean, maybe you're playing against Webwares or like Criminal Syndicate, and they're really tanky and annoying, and dealing the damage just isn't going to get you there, and you need to bring Black Panther. I mean, we could put him in S. I mean, I do really like him. He's super fun.
I look forward to redoing this video in 6 months when
Yeah.
it's like, oh wait, he's like, you know, Shuri is actually busted again.
I mean, she is still kind of busted, to be honest, but we'll get to that. Okay, so let's move on to the King, King T'Challa, the first and only five threat in Wakanda. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. This guy is just insane.
Yes.
Um, he is really strong. Like you mentioned how the classic Black Panther is a high four threat without the leadership. King T'Challa is a high five threat without the leadership. And if you add the leadership, he gets even better. I
I
mean,
don't know. I honestly, this is my least favorite leadership in the affiliation, I think.
oh yeah,
I
same.
just, I just, I don't know. I feel like his value lowers when you are taking him as a leader.
That's what I
Sounds
think
a
too,
little,
actually.
it sounds a little mean, but I think he just has so much more to offer when someone else is his leader.
That's what I
Um,
think too. Okay.
Here's my Black Panther,
Oh yeah, so there's Bags, John's Black Cat, Black Panther.
short for Bagheera, the other Black Panther.
She could be a Black Panther. Okay, but okay, uh let's dive into why we think he's better when he's not the leader. And I think it's because leadership really only benefits himself and Shuri when you're, playing Wakanda.
When
Because
you're
you only have,
heavy on affiliated characters, yeah.
correct. So like let's say you take all eight characters in the roster, you're not getting the most out of King T'Challa's leadership. Like I think it's totally viable to bring a like push focused team, but that's like a special thing you're doing, right?
Hmm.
Whereas if you take him under, you know, Killmonger, Usurper, one of his attacks is going to be, seven dice with two rerolls, which is even better. Like he just starts popping off even harder, and his leadership like isn't like holding back the rest of your team, it's basically like the rest of your team is still getting the leadership benefit. Um, but just to cover him really quick, like he still has the long move, he has better defenses, he doesn't have the mystic weakness of classic Black Panther. Seven stamina on both sides, so he's super beefy. He has tons of damage, like moderate amounts of control. He has a place, randomly has a counterattack, gets extra power. I don't know. He's just really, really good. But I don't think you
Yeah,
take him as the leader. And does that bump him down at all? And he is also directly competing with classic Black Panther.
yeah. So one thing I will say is if you take the other Black Panther, you can take the entire affiliation that you are able at 20 threat. And if you take him, you can't take the whole affiliation.
That's
Um,
true, because you can go six wide at 20 threat, and they're all
mhm. I keep forgetting that Storm is
Wakandans.
in Wakanda. I only ever see her in X-Men. Um, but yeah, so he, I do think this is a great new card. I don't know that I love it. I don't know that I love him in Wakanda, which kind of feels bad because he's like literally the king. Um, I don't know. I can't wait to play him in Defenders.
He's gonna be
Just
really
like
fun in Defenders.
he can just be my third Ghost Rider. Yeah, I don't know. I five threat is pretty big to fit in with all the other four threats that you're probably wanting to take. Um, I don't know. I would definitely love to be wrong, and he just absolutely goes crazy under. Trying to think if he'd be better under M'Baku or Killmonger. Um, hmm.
How about this? How about we put him in B, which might be controversial, but he's like, directly competing with his classic self, the first version of himself. We think there's better leaders for Wakanda, and he's a five threat, so you can't fit as many Wakandans in to like take advantage of Wakanda forever. Is that too low? Am I crazy? Like he is a really good character.
I think it'll make the picture at the end of this video of the tier list look a lot better if he's in B. Um, I don't think that's crazy right now. I'm totally prepared to eat my words, in a month, when he just like wrecks the timeline event at Adepticon. But yeah, I in Wakanda, I think you just have much better options taking like Okoye and Shuri instead of him. Um, so yeah, I think B is fine for now.
Yeah. You can still take him in your roster and you can bring him out if you're, you know, uh taking one of these other leaders that's not Black Panther and you need to fill that slot that's a five threat. But I don't think he's like an every game piece like some of these others might be. Okay, so this is very interesting that we have Killmonger at the top and the King at the bottom and the other two in the middle. I did not see it going this way, to be honest. But I don't know. It works out for me. Okay, so that's the four leaders done, the two new characters done. So let's move on to the other four that are not leaders. Let's start with classic Killmonger. So, John, what do you think of the classic Killmonger, who we have spoken about a little bit, but let's really dive in.
Yeah, so my very first game of MCP, I was playing Spider Foes against your Web Warriors. And Killmonger just absolutely shredded Daredevil, I did not realize was terrible at the time.
He was really
And
bad at the time.
but Killmonger also just like really popped off. Like did he was just making three or four attacks a turn and then just absolutely crushing it. So in my head, he's just like the best four threat because just at the beginning, it's what I do. I
Yeah,
think he's a little bit more limited in what he does. I think we covered this with the new Killmonger as well. He is going to kill. That is what he's monging for. Um, he does it very well, but that is maybe going to limit when you're putting him on the table in Wakanda, and depending on what leader, either Black Panther or Baku, probably under Baku, I would say, because he's a little bit more attrition focused. He's a little bit like if he's up on somebody, he has a chance not to just get thrown away. Um, I know everybody likes defensive dice, but if he gets that wild and he gets some, he's adding dice, he gets some rerolls and all that. So I think I would put him low A tier just because he's amazing at what he does. It's just more limited in scope.
a
I
good
don't know. Am I
point.
am I am I rating him too high for someone that's just a one trick pony with a really cool card, or I don't know.
Yeah. Um, we have new cards that work with classic Killmonger, you know. Uh like there's the card that gives him a throw, which is really nice. I think that helps him quite a bit. You can also take Usurp the Throne. Then that's like two cards in your roster. And you're already taking like Wakanda Forever, you're taking Fallback, Brace. Um, yeah, like he is still really good, and like you said, he fills that one specific role. Like he can go hunt down Hulk if you want him to, but he can also go bully these smaller characters and build up his kill count. This list is by far the toughest one we've done, just because they're like all so good, but they do different things. I think he gets bumped down by the new Killmonger. Like I feel like I'm just more likely to play the new Killmonger. You can't play
Yeah, I
both.
think I think I am too. I think I would have had him almost even S tier if we did not have a second Killmonger now that was a little bit more generic. Um, until a week ago, I do think I would have had him S tier. Yeah, I think B might be fine. Um, sorry, Michael B. Jordan. I love you.
He is great. I mean, he's still probably making your rosters, but he's only coming out in those very specific games where you need him,
Right.
right?
Like some
So,
a game where I am not taking the heart shaped herb tokens. Um, yeah, I think I'd probably have to, if I was a serious Wakanda player, I'd probably sit down and plan out more who I was taking on what kind of crisis. But he definitely still has a home, so I think B tier is fine.
all right, sounds good to me. So, John, who's next?
We have the greatest character in the affiliation because she's an affiliated two threat. We have Okoye, um, General
Were
of
you
the
playing the
Dora
game?
Milaje.
Like, okay, so John, were you playing the
I
game when
I
she was super
missed
busted?
I missed that whole era of busted Okoye,
Okay.
and I'm kind of glad that I missed it, but also I love two threats, so I hate that I missed it.
She was stronger than like most three threats. She was
Yeah,
so crazy.
yeah,
But
um,
nowadays she's fallen off pretty hard.
yeah. She's really good in her affiliations, but as far as two threats go, she doesn't really get splashed as much as I would expect for the two threats. Like Bullseye, Toad are going to be in a lot of places because they're just like cheap utility. And she is, but she kind of has her one trick that she does well is dying. So um, when you only have 4 health, that's not as great. So um,
So when they nerfed her, she had a reroll on, you know, defense and offense rolls. Uh, she, well, okay, so really the main thing was her spear blasts gained her a power, and that was really, really good because she had bodyguard.
mhm.
But nowadays, she just can't do that. So her problem is like turn one, if you ever pick up something, she can't then bodyguard round two without some help or getting a lucky strike that's four dice.
And that's why she's found such a good home in A Force, right? Is that power
Exactly.
manipulation.
Yep. You
And
can give her that second power.
yeah, so
And
that is a good point that she's really not what she was. I do think she's really good in Wakanda still, just when she gets some of those cards activated and just the bonuses that come with being an affiliated member.
yeah, you know, she also just fills out your points when you need her, right? Like it's so clutch having a two
Sure.
threat, you
Hmm.
know, but she like doesn't like you never plan on. using her. She's not your main game plan, which is fine. Like you don't really plan around your two threats except for like Toad because he's like a midline grab. But like she doesn't really synergize with any of the leaders. Like most of them are super mobile now, so like she can't really keep up to bodyguard. Like,
It's
she's gonna
fair.
be in all your rosters, but are you really that happy about it? And probably not, is what I'm thinking. But she's not bad. She's just not very exciting.
B for bad.
I mean, like we said with all these characters, she's gonna be on the roster.
Yeah, for sure.
But
And I do think that in Wakanda, I like her and Shuri together as a five threat over King T'Challa. Like I think I'm taking that pair more often than I'm taking King T'Challa. But just on her own, a little bit more in a vacuum, I think bottom of B just because she still has utility. She does still have that bodyguard. She's,
yeah,
maybe she's keeping a Killmonger alive an extra round or something, or she's taking a hit or two that's gonna get you that usurp the throne. And I think the low B is probably propped up by that bodyguard. G
she's
for
also your
bodyguard.
best character to play like uh the card Spirit of Wakanda. So you get
She's
her the
always in
second
range too.
power. Right, she's gonna be in range two anyways. She's a two threat, so you don't really care about the power on her. She can give it to everyone else. So it is nice having a two threat to play that card. She's just fine. You know, she is nowhere near what she used to be, but you know, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to something more interesting. Shuri. Shuri used to be possibly the best character in the game. Maybe that's a little bit hyperbolic, but she
Her
used
and
to be able to
Okoye
push.
together for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like they were super good. Like like literally the team was classic Black Panther and then those two. And then you just take whoever else you want and you have like so much control and damage. It was just wild. But, that's been toned down now. Sure you can only push size threes, which is still like what, 85% of the characters in the game? I'm not
Yeah,
sure the
that's
exact
that's still
percentage.
really good.
Yeah. She's super busted with King T'Challa because she has two pushes at range five. So like she's dealing three auto damage every turn, which is very, very good. I don't think I've seen this Sonic Crush, her spender, like once. Like when it goes off, it's really nice, but she's usually dead by the time she's at range two. She's very, very squishy. Five health, three
Yes.
defenses is rough.
It is wild to me that she has more health than Okoye, even if Okoye is a two threat.
Yeah, well, that is
Maybe
true.
that's just like tech. She has that vibranium shielding.
Right, exactly. Um, she does synergize really well with all the leaders, I think. It is mostly because she hands out rerolls. Um, it's like, we can look at the new Killmonger. He gives your team extra dice. And if you have more dice, you're more likely to have dice to reroll from Shuri. I mean, you like never give her the herb token herself, but she benefits your other team members. And
Yeah.
that's also
If
really thematic that she's not taking the herbs from Killmonger, but she's still like helping him because she has to.
and she's just
Like,
developing the herb.
right, exactly. And then, she's fantastic with King T'Challa, all the rerolls with classic Black Panther. My man M'Baku, if he has rerolls, you're more likely to get the wild, get the extra hit. Like she just synergizes super well, and I think you want her in most of your games. Um, does that place her really high, John? Or is she too squishy to really?
I think you have to know how to position her like towards the back, but still within range of your whole team. So if you're on like a pretty spread crisis, it might there's kind of a learning curve on positioning her if it's not an EMAP or a CMAP, you know.
Right.
Um, but I still would put her in S tier just because I think she is such a good utility that, like you said, every single leader, yeah, I other than being squishy, I don't really have any arguments for not being S tier. You know, math wise, being a three threat, she's probably going to work out whatever list you want. Having Okoye as the two threat really helps make the math work there on some of the threat values. But no, I'm probably taking Shuri every time, and she never has the issue of having an alter ego until we get another Black Panther in the game.
Which we will at some point. You know,
Yeah,
that's just gonna happen.
I
Maybe
can't
it'll be
holding
her
out for
and
that Riri, that Black Panther Ironheart box one day.
yep, that or Nakia, is that her name?
Oh yeah, that's
Right?
true.
That'd be a good box. Yeah, I mean, Shuri's great. She should probably see more splash play, to be honest, because she just has so much control. She's pushing two characters every single turn,
That is true.
basically guaranteed. So,
Yeah, she and
yeah,
Okoye are both really strong in A Force as well.
yep. So you could just kind of throw in She-Hulk and have that splash if you want to.
That is true. I
Not
know
sure why
Wakanda
you do
Wakanda
that,
likes the
but
Hulk. Wakanda likes the Hulk. Whether that's original Hulk or a Hulk Buster, who has some pushes. So I know that's a lot of threat to be throwing in this list, but they are good.
yeah, Shuri's great. She's gonna be in most games too. All right, so finally we have Storm, who before she got changed in the most recent card update, she was definitely D tier, you know,
Yeah.
in this list. But now I think she has a little bit more play. Um, because now she can actually like deal damage at range. So basically they bump the power down on Eye of the Storm to add extra dice to her attacks. And I think she synergizes pretty well with most of the leaders as well because you know you could take her with classic Black Panther. You're having rerolls on a range 4, 6 dice, wild shocking attack. Like she's basically dealing your damage, and she also has a character throw, which is pretty hard to find, which we mentioned. Do you like her, John, or am I too high on her?
I think she is. You're right that she's definitely higher after the rebalance back in the fall. Trying to remember if it's in the comics or if it was just in like the '90s X-Men show. But there's an arc where Storm like leaves the Xavier Institute and she goes to like help uh New Mutants in Africa. She's like just traveling and trying to help kids that are like finding their powers. So that's kind of what AMG does, that snapshot of characters. They kind of moved the snapshot of her to be when she's in Africa to make her like a little bit better with Wakanda.
In Wakanda,
Um,
yeah.
they like lowered her X-Men value a little bit, which thank you.
Yeah, well, yeah,
um,
that's true.
I would probably put her at the bottom of everyone we've talked about so far, just because, like, even though she is better than she was, I just kind of forget she's in Wakanda sometimes. She's definitely the last person that I'm picking for a game, let alone like just in my roster. I might there's a potential that I don't have her in my roster if I'm wanting some specific splashes for you know um, getting those herb tokens on someone like a Rhino or whoever. Uh, I think she's probably the first one cut in the roster, which is why I think C tier is fine because no one else I would really cut from the roster. I don't think. I think everyone else is for sure making my travel case to the tournament. Um, but since that's where I kind of start questioning Storm, I would say C tier. I do like her kit. I do like adding those dice and getting those rerolls under some of the leaderships. And it is nice to make the math work with another three threat. Um, but not having her leadership, even though the leadership was reworked a little bit too, um, Yeah, I'm just not as high on Storm as I used to be.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Storm can work if you want to play her, but she's probably not the optimal choice. And you're right that she's the first cut. But I just want to do a special shout out that I think she's really good with Killmonger as a leader because he's giving her extra dice, and then she's rolling 7 dice at range 4. Shocking to help with the counterattack. Like this like beam she does stuns if she deals damage, so 5 dice. Beam on one characters, but you're more likely to stun. If you're stunning people and dealing damage, which is your main game plan with Killmonger, they can't clap back as hard because stun just shuts that down. So I think her best home is there. She does literally nothing with King T'Challa, which is a shame, because they're married. It'd be nice if they had a little bit more synergy. But yeah,
She
she does kind of
does
feel
have
like
that
an
throw,
afterthought. Yeah,
size
that
two
is
throw.
true. And that's probably one of the best things going for her. But it costs 3 power. With classic Black Panther, she has to spend power to get the reroll. Like she is still going to be power starred because she's using Eye of the Storm. But,
Hmm.
the nice thing about Eye of the Storm is it fuels your builder. So if your builder is more dice, you're more likely to spike and get all that power and then still have the throw.
Yeah, with Usurper Killmonger, it is nice to have a 7 dice builder with range 4 and then have stealth 3.
Right,
Like
exactly.
that's a pretty sick combo there. That's like some
Yeah.
Bucky stuff.
Like she might be your like person to stand on the home point, but she's still dealing the damage to help your like rhinos and quicksilvers who I talked about in his breakdown video.
Hmm.
So, C, but I would still highly consider her in your roster. You know, she's the lowest of the 8, but she definitely
But
has
there's
some
8.
play if you need her. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. You could play all 8 if you want to. All right, John, so here is where we put everyone. Thoughts? I'm a little surprised with some of these.
I think it looks pretty good. And we definitely had some that I thought were borderline, like um, original Black Panther, borderline between S and A. I think new King T'Challa could be borderline between A and B.
Yeah.
Um,
Like we could do that change and I'm still happy with it.
nah, nah, that's all right.
I'm just saying that we could, and it
No,
wouldn't be
we
that
definitely
far
could.
off.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, just nitpicking. I could probably make an argument for Shuri over new Killmonger.
Hmm.
Um, just being the best in the affiliation, but
Yeah.
otherwise, no, I think that looks good for what we're trying to do here.
Shuri's really the one character that you're playing every single game,
Yeah,
unless you have like weird threat levels with taking so many 4 threats.
yeah, a very specific game plan that I don't have ready at the top of my head.
Yeah. Like maybe like 3, 4 threats and then King T'Challa as a 5 at 17 or something weird like that.
Yeah.
But you've mentioned it's probably better to break up King T'Challa and take, you know, the like 3 and the 2.
Hmm.
So, all right, well, this looks pretty good. We are going to do their tactics cards because, there's only 8 characters and funnily enough, actually there's 9 tactics cards. But uh on these we're going to spend a little bit less time. There's some really good ones. There's some like mediocre ones, and there's really only like 1 or 2 bad ones, I think. But we have to start with Wakanda Forever. I mean, there's no debate. This is S tier.
Just
Like,
straight to the top.
I mean, this literally might be the top of every single tactics card in the game. For those who don't know, uh, hold on, I'm gonna pull it up here. But for those who don't know, you play the card. It costs 1 power on all of your Wakanda characters, and each character that spent power may make an attack that costs 0 power. This could potentially be 5 attacks. Like Yeah, super busted card. I mean, we don't need to spend a ton of time on this, but do you have anything else to add, John?
I mean, it's just another Siege of Darkness, right? It's just it's just good.
It's literally twice as good.
Oh yeah, yeah. It is
Each
it
costs
is
two
twice as good.
power. This is a one power.
That
S-
is true.
so my first time going to Nova, I did really well and made the semifinals, and I lost against Wakanda, and I lost because I forgot that they had Wakanda Forever, and Shuri did 3 pushes to win him the game. So like you don't even have to deal damage. You can use this on Shuri to just control everyone. Like this card is so flexible, damage control, all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. Super good. It's gonna be in your roster. It's gonna be on the table every single game. Uh, okay, that one's S tier. Now we have vibranium shielding, which might be on the opposite end. Uh, but for those who don't know, Black Panther or Shuri can spend X power to play this card. X has to be between 1 and 5. This round, this character and allied characters, while they are within X, this character gain the invulnerability innate superpower. X is equal to the amount of power spent, and that superpower is when this character would suffer damage from an enemy effect, reduce the amount suffered by 1 to a minimum of 1. I mean, that sounds pretty good, but why does this never see play?
I mean, there's just better cards. I don't know. I mean, it's only a round, and you're potentially spending up to 5 power. I don't know why you would ever spend 5 power on this. Like if you have 5 power, I'd almost rather let someone get hit and just patch them up for that.
Yeah.
Which I know is a restricted card, but yeah, it's just for what you can spend on it, it's just not a lot. I think it would be fairly busted to give somebody this power for an entire game, like play this round one and someone is reducing damage the whole time. But yeah, I don't know. It's just looking at it, it's not immediately that bad, but I don't really see it on the table ever.
Yeah, so I think the closest comparison is the new card called Stark Armory that can be played by
Hmm.
Tony Stark. And it basically is this, except you're adding extra dice to all of your attacks. And that's like a hotly debated card right now. Like people thought it was going to be insane, and then it turns out most people that take Iron Man are still taking Helios Laser. And it's like I think it's limited by it can cost you a lot of power. There's range restrictions, so like you can throw Shuri or Black Panther to, turn off the bubble.
Hmm.
Like this has counterplay, and I mean it does very little against those like heavily crisis focused teams like Web Warriors or Criminal Syndicate. So, I mean, it's fine if you want to take it, I think, but it's not very exciting. I might put it like low B, high C. Do you have a preference
Yeah.
between those?
Um, Maybe let's say B for now, and we'll see where everything else ends up, see if it gets bumped down. Just
Okay,
populating those 10 cards. I mean, we only have 9 here, but obviously, I don't really see a situation where you take all 9 of these when you have the option to take 2 restricted cards.
right, exactly. But next up, we have a really good card, Usurp the Throne, which is a Killmonger card. This
Absolutely
is,
devastating.
yeah, this card literally wins games because it can get you to the 16th victory point that wins you the game. Um,
Immediately, like not the end of the round, just
yeah, like right then, right when you daze or KO Hulk, you win the game. And that's a really rare effect. This is probably the biggest reason to play classic Killmonger, which we mentioned, and people love this card. Whenever I've used this card, I mean, yeah, sometimes it's really, really good, but there's also times you still just whiff, even with rolling 2 extra dice. Like, I think the issue is you have to hit the highest threat character, and high threat characters have really good defenses. And the other player is probably going to have tech for that high threat piece, right? I don't know where I would put this because it's literally stapled to classic Killmonger. So its use is tied to him, right? And we put him in
Hmm.
B. So like, is it worth taking up one of your 10 tactics card slots for the
I
off
think
chance
it's
that you play Killmonger?
I think it's always in your 10 because I think original Killmonger is always in your 10. If you're, focused on Wakanda, I think the two of them are always going in and they might not see the tables, maybe A or B tier for that usurp the throne. I think it when you want it played, like if you're maybe on an attrition focused map and your opponent's going wide, that's when your eyes go big and you're like, okay, Killmonger is gonna feast this game. Um, if you take nothing but threes and fours, he's just absolutely gonna wreck you. Um, yeah, I think I would lean A just because I don't know. It's your when you have that card on the table, it is your game plan. Like it is very important when you have it.
Right.
Um, and it can whiff, which is why I would not put it in S tier. And that's not always your game plan. So I would probably say bottom of A for me, at least how I play MCP.
Yeah. That sounds fair to me. Um, this card is also combos really well with the next card, which is Jabari Chieftain, which I'm gonna pull up in a second, but it could be played by M'Baku. Um, basically he spends 4 power uh during another player's turn, and then he advances towards that character medium, and then that character adds 2 dice to all of its attack rolls as activation. This card is kind of crazy. Like I think you also just take this whenever you know, plan on playing him. Have you seen this card in action, John?
No, I specifically saw this, like you said, with Usurp the Throne.
Right.
I was winning a game. It was Guardians into Wakanda. I think this is before Cosmic Ghost Rider came out, and I was pretty wide, and I was up like 10-9 or 10-8 or something like that. And I was like feeling so good about this game, and I was pulling ahead. And then there was a Jabari Chieftain, like Killmonger activated Jabari Chieftain immediately, and then Killmonger just threw like 80 dice into me. Like he made
Yeah.
4 or 5 attacks. Like he just went off. And it was just devastating. It's like he gets the two VP, and then he gets, everyone I know and love is dead. So they're picking up all the points with their Shuri and Okoye. Um, and just like that, he scores like 9 points in a round.
Yep. Because it's really good
Um,
because it moves him medium as well.
mhm.
So it helps shore up his weakness,
Yes,
which
it
can
is.
sometimes be he's out of range.
It is an expensive card, I will say. So you have to have the 4 on M'Baku, and once he spends it, he's not going to have the throw online, probably, or at least not like before round 4 or 5. But yeah, I think you kind of need a specific game plan for this as well. Like you're not going to do this just to advance medium to be close to like a Shuri because you're not going to want her or Koye adding 2 dice to each attack because they're only getting 2 attacks. So like throwing it into Killmonger. Did new Black Panther have? He had like a spender that also creates a strike, right? Or he has something where he gets an extra attack, right?
He has a throw off of his spender. So he gets
What
a
am I?
move
Oh, so I'm
and a
thinking he
throw.
gets he gets he gets bonus dice after placing, so he could
Right.
place and then add 4 dice, and I
Yep.
don't think that's bad at all.
Yeah, he's rolling 10 dice builders with rerolls. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Uh,
like I mean, this card is so good with most of the Wakandans.
Hmm.
Like, it's, I mean, even on Storm, like, Storm has a beam. Like, this adds two dice to all of her
That is
beam
pretty wild.
attacks and her
So
area. Like, yeah,
I do know from Daredevil that adding dice on an area attack is really good.
right. So, like, she could be doing 10 dice area attacks.
Oh man, if her area attack would push people away like Daredevil's does, that
Yeah.
would be so good. Like, man, I put her in B tier if she could do that.
Yeah.
Just with new King T'Challa.
But its main use is with Killmonger. Like, it's so good
Yes.
with classic Killmonger,
Hmm.
and it's just good with everyone else.
Yeah. I
So then
might
where do we put it?
I think I put it top of A.
Yeah.
I think Usurp the Throne has a higher ceiling, I think. I mean, this is kind of like the same discussion between the two Killmongers, but it's like Usurp the Throne might have a higher ceiling, but I feel like I'm going to use Jabari Chieftain more often because I can use it with more characters. Like it doesn't have to be Killmonger if something's lining up, and um, maybe I just need to guarantee that 3 or 4 damage on Cosmic Ghost Rider, and I want someone else to hit him extra hard, so I want to give him the extra 4 dice that turn. It doesn't have to be extra attacks necessarily. So yeah, I think top of A probably for me.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Like it's more generic than usurp, just like you
Mm-hmm.
said. Okay, so next up is Spirit of Wakanda. This card has made some really big waves since it's come out. It's unlocked basically entirely new ways to play Wakanda. So basically what it says is a Wakanda character may spend 2 power to play this card, and then one of the following three things happens. It says within range 2, other allied characters may remove 2 damage. Within range 2, all allied characters may remove all special conditions. And then finally, all other allied characters within range 2 of this character gain 2 power. And that's the like really busted part is the two
Yeah,
power. Like there's multiple ways to do this. You can use Wong on turn one. You could take the restricted card, to add extra power, research and development. Like, and then
which
that then
literally has Shuri
unlocks.
on it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, like, that's the idea, right?
Hmm.
So, like, this unlocks Bound on King T'Challa, Killmonger's Pounce, Classic Killmonger's Charge. Like, and then on Splash characters, it's like Bill's Throw, Black Cat Steal, Cosmic Ghost Riders, placing range 5. Like, yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stuff with this. But as far as playing it fairly, it's okay. Like, I don't know how often you're gonna have a ton of allies within range two if you're not
Hmm.
doing turn one shenanigans. So,
Yeah, I
like in the
mean,
timeline format, I don't know how good it is.
yeah, that's true. I mean, they have, I don't know if that's Okoye or not, or if that's just one of the other Dora Milaje, but I think she's really good with this if you're not strictly going for the 2 power turn one play. If you are holding on to it, if she's wanting to be in the thick of it with someone else on a team to bodyguard, I think that's pretty good. Um, so whether she's playing that or I don't think you're playing it specifically to take 2 damage off of her, but I think she's pretty good to play it. Plus, a lot of the other characters, like you were saying, are pretty mobile now. They're pretty mobile affiliation with a lot of these bounds and pounces and stuff. Um, so you can kind of position yourself to play this, especially now with the two new characters. I don't know. I might even call this S tier, just with the amount of use that it has. Am I ranking it too high? Outside of turn one jank.
No, that sounds right to me because I mean it does so much turn one jank, like we mentioned, but then also like so many characters have pounces or places to be exactly where you want them to then play this. Like um, King T'Challa generates power so well because he has this thing whenever an ally is hit, he gains a power. Like he has a crazy builder. It's like I think he's a pretty likely candidate to play the card. So yeah, I think it's gonna be in all of your rosters and pretty likely to make most every game. And there's the busted turn one stuff. So it's always fun. That's my favorite. Okay, so let's move on to the new cards and the rivals panel that you can see the art of in my video that I just did opening up that box. We're gonna start with Trial by Combat. So this card is Wakanda only. The current leader you're using in Wakanda, so it's not just any of the four, it's the one you're actively playing. They choose an enemy character with an active leadership within range 3, and then both of those characters roll dice equal to their remaining stamina. And then the leader that rolled fewer crits, hits, and wilds loses their leadership for the rest of the round. So just right off the bat, this is the first way to interact with enemy leaderships. So it's very, very unique. And all the leaders have 6 or 7 stamina, and it's during their turn. So like you have control over when you're playing the card, right? It's like, and if you're within range 3, you're going to be dealing damage to them. So the play is to like, you know, like use your strikes and spenders or pounces on the enemy leader to get them lower and then turn off their leadership with trial by combat. That seems decent to me, but do you think it's worth it, John, or is that too cute?
I don't know. I really like the thought of taking this into like a kingpin that's a very crisis focused leadership. Um, I know that probably pains you as a criminals guy, but
Yeah.
I do like the thought there of getting a kingpin down on some health, which is not always easy to do, granted, but being able to get him down and turn off that leadership for that round so that you have kind of a fair fight on the points. Um, I think that has some play. I don't know that you're taking this every game by any means. Like, you kind of made some really good points in the other video, but if like you're not going to take this into Guardians because Star Lord, you're never going to be able to turn that off, right? He hands everything out in the power phase. You never get a chance to take those back or anything. You're never going to take this into A Force because She Hulk has 20 dice.
Yeah.
Um, like when as soon as you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, imagine getting to roll 20 dice.
Yeah.
That's why I
That might be
play
worth it just for the
CGR and
memes.
Helios Laser. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, David versus Goliath here. Um, I don't know. This I would probably rank this a little on the lower side, as fun as it seems. It's kind of like a shell game to me. It's just like really high roller stuff where you kind of have to gamble a bit and you get pretty good stuff out of it. Um, but it's definitely not every leadership you're looking to turn off.
Yeah, I mean, it is very niche, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and it's worth
I
noting
like,
that your leader has to be near their leader, which sometimes just doesn't
mhm.
happen.
Yeah, I do like the thought of this into Daredevil Defenders, into Marvel Knights. Because on the healthy side, he's only at 5 stamina, and uh, he is more likely to like go try and seek out your leader like one on one, just kind of like duel you. Um,
Yeah.
so I like that's the defenders have been pretty prevalent lately since that rework as well. Um,
Yeah.
Not to give out tech against myself, but I do I think I like it there, especially against a weaker leader, especially those leaderships that are going to work out of activation for everybody. Like Daredevil, he can use his leadership every time he counterattacks on different turns. Sam Wilson being able
Yep.
to move and use his leadership whenever you are attacking. Um, yeah, there's definitely some good ones to use it on. What's the
Yeah,
health like on new Doc Ock there? C
he's 6'6", I think.
6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be a good one.
that's another leadership that would be really good to turn off because you're turning off a bunch of power gen and statuses if that's your game plan with like
Professor
crises or
X
whatever.
could be good. Stop that power train they have. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it might be kind of hard to get into Professor X if he's playing kind of cagey, but we don't really know how he plays yet fully.
yeah, like Chala is super mobile and could probably get to him.
That's true.
Then it's like, is it worth turning off his leadership if you just kill him? I don't know. I think it's okay. I
Yeah,
think it's worth testing,
high
but it might
B.
be too niche. Yeah, I might put it above vibranium shielding.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I would.
I mean, it costs no power, which is really nice. So you're not like
It is
wasting
true.
anything if you whiff. Also, if you fail the roll, you lose your leadership,
It is
which
true.
is
So,
which is rough. Like,
but
although
if you're
with
playing
the
it
new
with,
Killmonger,
yeah, new Killmonger, it's like Star Lord's winging it tokens. You're not losing anything if that's your leadership. Like you've already handed out your tokens.
yeah. So it's probably best on him because he's dealing damage anyway, so he's gonna have their stamina low, and he doesn't care if he loses his leadership.
hmm
So he's
Like
probably
you,
the
at
best
that
one.
point, you feel bad that you took a tactics card for it, but other than that, there's not really a downside.
Yeah. But it might be worth it to turn off that Sam that's gonna be a huge pest.
hmm
So I
Moving
think B
moving
is
someone
fine
late.
for it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right, so the next two cards I think are pretty questionable. Not to like spoil it or anything, but the next one is Bass Blessing. Uh T'Challa can spend 3 power to play this card, so that's either Black Panther, and then he has this attack that he makes, and this card is an action, so this is taking up one of his 2 actions. It's a range 3, 6 dice mystic attack. He places within 1 before damage. And then on 2 wilds, he can choose an enemy character within 2 of the target character that has not been targeted by this attack this turn. Black Panther then makes this attack targeting that character. So the dream is you do this attack, place within 1, you get 2 wilds, you place within 1 of another enemy character. You're like bouncing around the board, but 2 wilds is really tough to get.
It is true. So let's say you're playing. Well, you can't play him under original Black Panther. Um, Playing him under Killmonger Usurper, you could potentially have an extra die. Well, you only get an extra die once though. But you do potentially have an extra die on the first one to try and fish for that double wild. And
Yeah.
M'Baku doesn't give you rerolls. He's just changing something to a hit. So that's not going to help you fish for 2 wilds.
You also have Shuri
Um,
rerolls, which helps.
that's true. So I'm trying to think, is there a situation where you take this just to pay 3 to place within 1 on an attack? Just to like, GTFO across the board into multiple people? Because that doesn't really seem worth it to me. The potential for hitting 2 people with a 6 dice mystic is pretty good, but like you said, the second one's not guaranteed. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not super high on this one.
To me, to make it worth it, you gotta hit the trigger. Because I think
hmm
it's when you want to, fly across the board. Um, and it's
So
worth
is this
noting that
a?
there's
Oh yeah,
what's up?
I was gonna say, is this a good like bring it with him splash card somewhere else? Like if you're gonna play this under like uh Steve First Avenger, and you get 1 wild and then you can pay a power to get a second wild. It's just like a lot better outside.
That's what I thought too, but it's actually locked to
Oh, it does say
Wakanda.
Wakanda.
Yeah,
I
which
don't
is
love that.
unfortunate. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
probably would
pretty
rank
rough.
this pretty low. Yeah.
One other thing going for it is that there's literally no other Mystic in the entire team, but attack discard for a single Mystic attack is pretty rough. So I think I'm gonna put it. Oh,
I
that's the
mean,
characters.
you'd probably just splash someone at that point if that's all you're doing.
Right. I might put it even.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's pretty bad.
maybe we'll find a fringe case where we want it to bump it up to C, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, plus, the like place is nice, but both Black Panthers have places. They have a pounce and literally a place. So that's
Hmm.
not even like a new thing. Oh well, I
Yeah.
mean, the like card's cool, but
As
not
far as
competitive.
cards that are a little bit easier to use and a little bit more reliable, I think this next one is my favorite of the two at least. Kill the Luna's Glory. So basically the same thing except for it's Killmonger, and I guess it's worth noting either Killmonger could do this. He gets a 7 dice Mystic penance stare basically, where he's sapping power to other people. Uh, so he can spike into you if he's got extra dice. He can steal your power. And I think it's worth noting the way I'm reading this, he can spread it out. It's not just him getting power, he can spread it out any way he wants, right? I don't think there's a range on giving the power, and it can go to any number as long as you do enough damage.
For each power lost this way, an allied character may gain one power.
Yeah, so I think it's
So that could go to
across the
multiple
table.
characters.
Yeah, so you could, if you deal 3 damage, you could fund a not Spirit of Wakanda, Wakanda Forever or something. Um,
Yeah. Jabari
just with the
Chieftain.
single attack. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that's a good point. Although you'd probably want a Japari Chieftain before this to get extra dice on this, but then you can
Yeah.
then refund it so he gets his throw. But I'm a lot higher on this than Fast Blessing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true. One thing I noticed during the like box opening is that if this dazes or KOs the target, you don't get the second effect of handing out power, which is rough because it
That
happens
is
after the
that
attack is
true?
resolved.
After that, oh yeah, that's
Because the
rough.
dazed character can't lose the power.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then it's like you dazed them, so maybe you're fine with the daze. But if you were planning on the power,
Yeah.
mess you up. I don't know. But I
Yeah.
like the point of multiple characters getting power. I didn't
If it
realize
was
that before.
if it also had the clause of like a penance stare where target character does not gain power equal to the attack or damage dealt, I think
Yeah.
that would just be like, that much better where you're like when you're dazing somebody and you're denying that ability to flip over and immediately double spender because you got
Right.
spiked.
Yep.
Um,
So which of the Killmongers likes this more?
Great question. This character makes an attack. I think with focused on the kill, original Killmonger might like it better because you can hit them once and then target them for 9 dice on top of kill count tokens. I mean, if
Yeah.
you're just going for raw damage, um, just with like someone that's weak to Mystic, like a Wolverine that's up in your face or something, um, I think original Killmonger likes this better. If your plan is to play around the power distribution, like the power sap and distribution to your team, I think Usurper Killmonger might like this better.
Yeah, maybe the only reason you might not take it on classic Killmonger because you're taking Usurp the Throne. And I don't like
Mhm.
taking two character specific cards for one character. You'd probably just rather have Usurp, but like not
Yeah, that's
necessarily.
true.
So
Uh,
this card is really interesting. I might put it maybe B, low A. Is that crazy?
I would I would maybe say low A. I think you're onto something that it might be like this or Usurp the Throne.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a game. I think you're right. There's not a game where you take both of them. Um, how much is Usurp the Throne to play?
three.
Three. So either Killmonger, you're probably not flush enough on power that you're gonna take both of these and be able to play both of these in a turn, hoping to spike with this mystic attack to get your VPs or
Yeah,
anything crazy like that. Um, I don't know. I think if you have a mystic game plan, this could kind of go with him if you're splashing him somewhere. Either Killmonger, I think would be nice. I think you might splash the original Killmonger more often, but
yeah,
yeah, I think bottom of A is probably pretty solid for this one.
that's true. I think its dream scenario is that you do this on like a 6 stamina character. You deal 5 damage to hand out 5 power to your team, and then you pounce
Hmm.
in to finish them off. Like
That's
that is
true.
the like perfect scenario, which obviously you can't
Yeah,
guarantee,
yeah.
but
It's
you
also
know,
it's also good into the big boy meta of like your various Hulks in your CGR where you're not as likely to just like one shot them.
that's a great point.
Yeah,
That's so true. Like Hulk can just take all that damage. You won't
yeah.
daze him, but you'll hand out
But
the
he's
power.
also always going to have power because he's always getting three per turn. So if you go before him, he has at least three power that you can take. Um, my it's kind of became a little bit of a meme at my store, but the guy won our league recently with Guardians playing Ghost Rider or Cosmic Ghost Rider, and when I played him, I texted you guys and Bobby asked, "So what's your plan for Cosmic Ghost Rider?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to bring two Ghost Riders." Just that game plan of penance staring all the time and being able to do all that crap that he's kind of infamous for now. It's a good tech piece against those big characters.
It's a great point. That's really good. I like that a lot. I think this will see play in timeline because you just
Hmm.
can't take, you know, usurp the throne.
Hmm.
Ooh, I might add this to a
Yeah.
timeline list. Okay,
Oh, for
sweet.
sure.
Yeah, so low A. I like it. I like it. All right, so we have one final card that's technically not Wakanda, I don't think, but it's for Killmonger and it's new, so we're gonna talk about it. Maybe it is Wakanda. Let's check.
I don't
It's
think
not
so.
Wakanda. So this is called synthetic heart-shaped herbs. It can be played by either Killmonger again. He spends 1 power to play this card. He gains the poison special condition and the following superpower.
Which is
Panther's
in German
power.
on Jarvis.
Oh, what? Okay, okay. Well, I was just gonna start reading German.
He gets
He
I
gets a
think,
short throw of characters size 3 or less or terrain within range
yeah,
2.
within range two.
Yeah, so it's a range 2 size 3 throw of characters or terrain
And this supercraft can only be used once per turn, once per word. And if I'm
for
if I'm
word.
finding my nouns correctly, I took
So
Latin.
I took Spanish and I was horrible at it. I'm like, you know, like barely speak English. Okay, but anyways, this card is so interesting to me. Like spending a power and poisoning yourself. Like obviously poisoning yourself is bad. Like that's a bad use of a tactics card. But you get this
Hmm.
superpower for the rest of the game. And it's a throw, which is like the one knock we had against both Killmongers, right?
Hmm.
So basically, it's a good card, but is it worth a tactic slot to upgrade either of your Killmongers?
I do really like just that potential to, if you attack somebody two, three times and you just like keep whiffing whiff after whiff after whiff with your dice, being able to then pounce and throw with that power, like if you still have power, that is a really good combo to be able to like, guarantee that damage, especially if you've already burned their brace or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's so many Killmonger cards that like you're never going to take three. Like even I wouldn't take three Killmonger cards. I would probably take two more often than not, even
Yeah,
though you tell me not to. But I don't think I'd ever take three cards.
yeah. It's tough, right?
The poison is interesting, especially because it's unaffiliated. So like if you splash one of the Killmongers somewhere, is there anything cool that you can do with that poison? Like, is there a Hydra play there? Or
Um, I don't think any allies benefit from allies being poisoned.
yeah,
Although, well, actually, Strucker leadership, you can hand the poison to somebody else. That's the only
yeah.
synergy I can think of.
So maybe on new Killmonger, he gets his one power. Maybe he can. I'm trying to think of a scenario where he can pass it off turn one, but I don't think he can. He'd have to double move and then use it. That's kind of a waste of a turn. But turn
I,
one, depending on what the board looks like in Hydra, he could double move and then poison someone turn one so that they're not getting power turn two, round two.
he has a range 4 shot, so he could potentially move
Yeah.
up and
Oh
shoot that
yeah.
and hand off the poison.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
true.
what's the range on handing? Is it on the attack is when he hands it off? I'm not a Hydra player by any
Yeah,
means.
yeah, yeah. So for Strucker, the leadership is basically when you have a special condition, you deal damage to somebody, you can give them that special condition. And you heal when that happens.
Yeah. So I think I would probably still take this in Wakanda in my 10 fairly often. Um, that throw is just kind of a lot to pass up, honestly, especially when you get it for one power um, on somebody that has that gainer for a guaranteed power when you need it, range four. Someone that's probably generating a lot of power, even though they want to take a lot. Um, hmm, yeah,
So so for
trying to think of where
me,
I would rank it.
yeah, like I don't plan on using it turn one. I think you do it when you have 4 power because you can just play the card, then do the throw immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It is really cool with Strucker. That's a great idea, John. And I might like try that because it's hilarious.
Is
But
synthetic herbs in timeline?
yes, so you could
Okay,
do that
so
in the
that
timeline
that
format.
is that is timeline viable, at least.
Yeah, then you just screw up somebody's power gen for the rest of the game or till they get tased. But it's basically exactly what you said. There's 3 Killmonger cards for classic Killmonger and 2 for the new Killmonger leader. So it's like which is the best?
Mm-hmm.
I think they all have viability. Um, I think I like the guaranteed throw. Like I might put this just above the other two because
Even
like
with
these
the
two are
the
like dice
poison,
dependent. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean
that's a tough one.
it is tough because it's like maybe like okay, so you definitely want to play it before you get dazed because when you get dazed, you lose your poison. It's like the optimal
Yes.
time to do it is like you're getting a little low on health, you know, you play that card, you get the throw, and then you throw. It could be good with like no matter the cost and his spender. That's a synergy I talked about in his video.
Mhm.
So you've like damaged yourself, you're saving on the power to then throw. But then that's like 2 tactics cards.
And if you're already playing like Okoye and Spirit of Wakanda, and you can just heal it back, bing.
Yeah, that can also heal the poison. It's not
Does
worth
that
playing
does
Spirit of
that get rid
Wakanda to
of
heal it.
does that get rid of conditions? Oh, that's the,
Yep.
the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That almost
That's
never
the
comes up.
that's the one I didn't think of.
Yeah.
If you ever took Killmonger in Guardians and you had Crew of the Milano, I'm stretching at this point. Um, but yeah, I like that we have all three Killmonger cards right there. I think the order you put them in honestly might just come down to play style. I know that you as a criminals player really, really value those guaranteed plays, those things
Yeah.
that you can do without dice. Like, I can wedge myself between a point in a building and I'm going to score 2 points this round, Um,
Right.
and me as like a Guardians Defenders player, I'm going for the giant swing. I'm gonna roll those dice. That's the last thing I do. I'm gonna get my Daredevil spender with 40 dice. Um,
Yeah. I think just having the throw and the pounce seems so good. Like that's just so much damage being handed out. So you're getting two
mhm,
attacks, two throws. That's a lot of damage. I mean, that is 5 power, but he's generally flush on power.
mhm.
I don't know.
Being
I
able to
mean, they
do
are
both of
all
those and two attacks.
right, exactly. Like you could pounce in, throw a size 3 at them, make two attacks. Like that'll take down
Yeah.
most characters
And
in the
the
game.
the pounce is good, but the throw, you can also do characters into characters.
Correct.
Like
Yeah. Or
you
you
can
can
hit
just do
hit multiple
control.
people. Hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then you still have your counter attack up.
Okay, you've talked me into agreeing that it's the top of the three Killmonger cards.
Okay. But I think it's like pick your spice. It's
Hmm.
like out of these three, pick one for your Killmonger, whoever you like best. Probably don't, maybe two. I don't play two, but definitely don't take all three. It like
In a
would be
game,
cool
yeah,
to play Killmonger and take all three and just have him be your focus, but that's a
and then
little
also include
extreme.
versatile strategy for your three leaders.
Yep. I like love versatile strategy. That's kind of a pet card of mine, but it might actually be good in Wakanda because you have so many leaders. It's just like, oh, you don't know what I'm gonna be doing.
Uh, what's the timing of versatile strategy? Is it during the power phase?
No, it's just during someone's turn.
Yeah, so you can give out your herb tokens and then switch to original Black Panther or M'Baku.
Yeah, to get rerolls
Like
or
have
better
two for
dice.
a turn at least have two leaderships online.
Yep,
That's not a bad play.
for like a huge swing turn.
Hmm.
Seems pretty good. Or if you start on like, you know, uh uh the 5 threat leader with the pushes, King T'Challa, and the train
Hmm.
starts running out, you can swap to Killmonger,
Yeah.
start getting the herb tokens.
If you are taking King T'Challa's leadership, I think it might be necessary to take versatile just to get rid of it depending on the board. Because like if it's nothing but ones and twos on the board, might be kind of rough, like you're saying, late game. But
Yeah.
no, I think these tier lists look pretty good.
Yep. I think they came out pretty well. They're all kind of, sloping towards the high end, but Wakanda has really good stuff in it, and it's still pretty well spaced out. What final thoughts do you have, John?
Like you said, skewing towards the higher end makes a lot of sense. They were pretty dominant from what I hear. I was not playing at the time, but when they were first introduced, they kind of ran wild with some of their low cost tech. Um, they had their own crisis card that got banned before I started playing the game with Wakandan herbs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so they are a menace, and I think they kind of fell off a while, or maybe they didn't fall off, but a bunch of other affiliations got the pieces that Wakanda got early, and they had those four threats, they had those utility pieces and everything. I think everyone else just kind of caught up to them, and they may have fallen off, but I don't know. These new boxes really have me excited. I kind of wish Claw was in Wakanda, but that's like saying I wish Sentinels were in X-Men.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
it might be just because they're in the same comic books doesn't mean they're the same team.
yeah. Uh, but it does work for Asgard though. That has the heroes and villains.
That
So
is
that's probably
true.
why
That is
people
true.
want Claw and Wakanda. It's like, hey, Asgard has both. Yeah, so this came out really well, I think. This was the toughest to rank for me out of all the ones we've done, just because it's so diverse. You could take every single character, they're gonna do
Hmm.
well. So it's really like, you know, going down to the details and seeing very specific situations.
Hmm.
So yeah, they're looking really fun. I'm definitely playing them in the like uh timeline format next month at the convention. Um so yeah, thanks for watching guys. This is a fun one. I'm not sure what the next video is. I don't have anything specifically planned. I have, various, thoughts rolling around in my head. I have like 10 lists or like 10 video ideas. Not sure which one yet. Let me know if there's something specific you want to see. I'm pretty open to, you know, doing videos on Marvel Crisis Protocol or even other games like Magic even or Legion, stuff like that. So, again, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you can, and we'll see you in the next one. See ya.